I think we're going to learn a lot about this team and even the manager as well in this little period as well, because the last league-winning team around then, you sort of knew that you trusted them by then. The problem was what Man City were capable of doing, but even the league that we won they didn't really have anything to prove to me. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they went above and beyond with that early run that they went on, but you knew like when it mattered, they could get big results. Like this team, we don't quite know that yet, and that's not having a go at them. We just sort of haven't learned it. It's all been quite easy for them this season. I think it is sort of fair to say they've had big wins, but even that big week, beating City and Madrid has been put a little bit into sort of perspective with what happened with City afterwards, and obviously Real had some problems too. And so I think we know they're a good team. They look like a good team. We know that they're a very good team, but are they a winning team? Are they a championship winning team? Are they a trophy to surround us winning team? We don't know that yet. You can only prove that by doing it, and I think the first step towards that is Forest, because if they can win that, I think we'll look, when we look back on the season, it'll be like remember when we went to Forest and they were flying and we beat them.
And I think the manager really wants to win it as well. Given how much he's talked about Nottingham Forest for the last sort of 3.5 to 4 months now, isn't it? That he's basically sort of cited it all the time. And all right, he's got the Tottenham one the other night, has sort of got it out of the way, being the only defeat. But he's sort of he feels like he took the whole game personally, and I think it's a really interesting example to take forward of how the second half of the season is going to be different for him. He's able to look back at matches and think about things that he sort of possibly didn't like, or things that he feels he did wrong, or things that he felt other people did wrong. Go back and to get the video and say, right, well, we did this, maybe don't do this. But also the other way around as well, in terms of you've now got teams who have played us. We've played everyone now bar Everton, but ultimately, even if we have played Everton, they've just changed the manager, so that doesn't have any real bearing on that. But they can look at it and go, well, we tried this and it didn't work, and now we can try this. And he's got to react to how teams might treat us a little bit differently, because I think there's possibly a situation where for the first sort of 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season, people probably didn't quite treat Liverpool at the title winning top of European football level that we have gone on to prove ourselves to be. So it's interesting to see how he copes with that. I think it's a really interesting sort of 4 or 5 months for him, and this 6 or 7 game period started off fantastically with a game where, as I said a minute ago, he really, really, really wants to win this game, doesn't he? Massively.
Yeah. Those Champions League games, we'll know a little bit more about them, Ali. We'll know a little bit more about the league situation by there. So I think there's two league games before the first one, and then that Ipswich one, and then PSV before Bournemouth. And so we'll know obviously a little bit more about our league position by the time we get to Lille, and even more by the time we get to PSV. But still, there's still not a scenario whether we get 1 point or we get 6 points where I'm wanting to go like full strength in those. There'll be players who might need games. There'll be players who might be able to get away with sort of playing in them. So I'm not necessarily saying it has to be sort of 11, but I know in the past Jürgen went really strong in these games, and we sort of picked up injuries and things like that. I know there's big financial rewards for even winning a Champions League game, which is crazy.
€3 million for winning the game.
Just for winning a game.
You get $1 million for drawing.
So I'd imagine there's a little bit of internal pressure, like going winning these games is good, but I just hope that the bigger picture sort of prevails, and if it's not 11 changes, then we're being careful with certain individuals.
Yeah, and I think what is often forgotten about, because we idolise these players into the machines that they are, is they want to win football games as much as we want to win football games.
And they want Champions League goals and things like that, yeah.
And they have their own personal benefit, but they also realise the collective. And I think, Phil makes a good point there, where the manager's going to be really critical of himself, and obviously this back end of the season, but the level of autonomy that dressing room's now going to have, with the amount of changes that we're going to give, it doesn't matter whether Virgil van Dijk's captaining your team. If you are replacing Virgil van Dijk, or you're stepping up, or if a player's coming in, you have to have that want and that desire to perform well for this football club.